day 2 of PCOS having me at home, but I am thankful and grateful that I have given myself the liberty and created a business where I can work from home, because I feel bad for those of you all who still have to clock in for a 9 to 5, because on days like this when I'm not feeling it, I'm gonna be at home. But it's no worries, I'm all right, all is well. It's nothing that heating pads and some hot baths can't fix, which really isn't a bad day at home if you think about it. Outside of the pain, that is. But I absolutely love what I do. But I love you guys, I love folklore, I love all creepy things, so I have to be the one to give it to you. What's good in the YouTube hood? It's your girl Luna Nova, and I'm back with another one for y'all today. Side note, I am gonna be posting y'all are gonna get lucky this week, 2 movie reviews for you guys, because I do have one that I did have in the rotation that was already planned for you guys, but I also went to go see the new scary movie Weapons, and I'm not gonna give any spoilers in this video, but let me just say it was definitely interesting and I loved it. So I'm super excited for that movie review. I'm also going to be doing a series review, which I do loop in with my Third Eye movie reviews, for the new Katrina series that was released on Hulu. It was requested here on the channel, but I also find it really interesting, and I want to give a spiritual perspective to everything that was going on, because there was a lot of things that was uncovered in that documentary that need to be spoken on. But I'm super excited for all of that. I just wanted to let you guys know about that. So if you've been waiting for a Third Eye movie review, there's plenty coming. The Caribbean is rich with folklore, and behind the colorful stories lie dark tales of spirits, haunting, and encounters that defy explanation. Let's take a journey onto the eerie side of the Caribbean. The Caribbean is much more than the sun, the sand, and the sea. Its land is where history, folklore, and spirituality are all weaved together, in powerful ways, I might add. Stories passed down for generations warn us of spirits that walk amongst the living, restless souls that linger, and encounters that remind us that the veil is never that far. Tonight, we're taking a dive into the dark side of Caribbean culture with a chilling compilation of ghost stories from Caribbeans themselves. Grab you a drink, grab you a snack, and some protection items from yours truly, and let's go ahead and get into these creepy Caribbean ghost stories, only if you dare.
I will never go downtown and sit down on no bucket to get either my finger, my toe, or my lash done. More go down, they go dig up for $100 close them, of course, anytime, anywhere, every time, every single time. But for cosmetic purposes, Now, if you go down there, or if you work down there, no offense to anybody, to each his own, this is just my story, me I tell you no why. Me don't know how me look so, like me come from the Caucasus Mountains, me I try, remember, probably at the angle. Anyway, over here so now. The other day, me did have one very important place to go. I mean, I have enough things I come down. I did one weekend when I did have like probably 3 parties back to back. I say, no man, them at where can't work. As you can see, I barely have toenail because I always put an acrylic so I book off my toe. I did already go downtown, as I say, for go dig up in the $100 and $200 close them because I just saw me stay, me like them some day. And through me did the downtown already, I say, I just do my tour down here, I go just get a try. Because I'm a big woman now, I decide to go explore and try new stuff. That was a mistake, obviously. First of all, when I go downtown here, yeah, explain what you want. Them no want to hear that. Them just tell you sit down. Them just want you sit down. Them just want you sit down on the bucket and don't move. So, me and my friend go, right? I show the lady them my toenail. I should have known. You see, anytime I go downtown and you see one lady there and 3-4 girls are wait for she, and one other person there and nobody there, so just stay in the line or go by your business, my love, because it's a recipe for disaster. So through me did in Irish and me did have my lash video 5 o'clock. I think it was a 5 o'clock appointment, and me did have mostly I did about 3 o'clock. I did have like probably 2 hours or 1 hour to spare. Now, usually I go to my nail tech, but me done the downtown already, but you see little bit enough. Anyway, I show them my tour. I show the lady. I explain to her, I'm in a one little rush. You feel like you can do this by 5 o'clock. She look at me. She look on the line. She said, no baby, I nothing can do it, but you can go here soon. Me I tell you no. So, I go sit down on the bucket. Big mistake. When I see the lady start apply the acrylic, I know so I get fucked. I just know so I get fucked this. When I tell you say the acrylic thick like 2 of my big finger them, I saw the acrylic thick on my toe. My big toe heavy. My big toe couldn't lift up by itself. Very heavy. And auntie girl never have no nail file. She never have the electric one for rub it down. She did use buffer. Now, me stress out a little bit, but me I say, no, I just give her a chance. I just give her a chance. Because me make sure I ask her if she can work with it. Because I know some I told them not too wonderful. I know them not too cute. Tell my auntie stop do my tour for do 4 eyelash. Bear in mind, me already explained to her say, me in a rush. Then, one time somebody leak out the card for the fan car. As you know how downtown work, I found that they and wire. The card end up leak out. At this point, I'm minutes to 5 now. And me stress out and my two of them don't look good and me just know say this now go work. So me decide say, you know what? I just go call it a day and something. The lady did one charge me 3.5. Bear in mind, she did one charge me 3.5. She said me to give her 2.5 instead. And my normal nail tech don't even take 2 grand. Not even my nail tech. The lady would normally do me 2 of them a Spanish town. She don't take 2 grand. Anyway, me realize the time I catch up on me and auntie just taking people so then she start cuss more night time and say, I me make you light leak out. I me make you I me make you wire leak out. When people are walk to and fro, when we are in the middle of the street, lady, we're up on the sidewalk, people are go walk and lick it out. Anyway, me did afraid her, so me never said nothing. Me and my friend did afraid. But I did after 5 now, and me decided so I could stay, plus me two of them did cranny, and like my eye did full of water. So me say, auntie, and she did still do somebody eye. Me say, auntie, me can't wait no longer. Do man get up and say, give me money then. Bear in mind, acrylic only acrylic the on me too. The thick acrylic. When I buff down properly. So me say, what do you mean by pay? She said, pay me for my work. Me dey on the brink of balling now because me I go dead downtown. Over me two of them we don't look good. So, I asked her what she do. Me see she start reaching her waist and to me know them look like stabby, me just sit down back on the bucket and cancel my lash appointment. Yes, when the woman done with my toe, I could even take one picture to me. My toe was disgusting. And funny enough, you know, because that did teach me my lesson. But this I say me no business. Downtown can never see me back as it relates to lash, nails, or toe. No, me prefer me just go spend my money and sit down and wait. Me see the lady on TikTok. And I say, whoa, if it isn't the lady who threatened my life and fuck up me two of them. And then everything was so unsanitary. But that is a story for another time. So yes, that is the reason why I would never, ever go downtown to do nothing other than buy cheap clothes and probably ear. As me say, I'm not do this to wash nobody, so no don't have to bring me down. If you work downtown, I know say everybody is not the same. I know say someone downtown and can't angle no base. But me personally, me afraid I'm not gonna make nobody come kill me because I'm not like something.
So happy somebody remembered this story because this is another one that I love to tell. So this happened when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old in Jamaica because I was still living with my grandma, and we used to take the school bus to school in Jamaica. School buses in Jamaica is not hired by the school most of the time. Most of the time it's just a guy who has a van and drives kids. Like it's different. So our school driver, his name was Uncle Dennis, and one day we were driving and we started seeing crows on this one house. Now mind you, there's a bunch of John crows in Jamaica. It's like a vulture. It's not like a little black crow that you're thinking. It's like a big ass vulture. So we see a couple of them sitting on this house. It's not uncommon to see them though. It's scavengers. There's a bunch of dead stuff all over the place all the time. Dead dog, whatever. But it started to get weird because every day that we were driving past this house, we were seeing more and more junk crows on the house. Like, I want to say the shit went from like 2 to over 100 within 5 days. It got to the point where the house was covered in birds and bird shit, bro. Like, layered, like you couldn't see the paint of the house type shit. Now, naturally, everybody just thinking somebody dead, like someone in the house has died, like go check on them, what the fuck? But then one day we drove past this house and all of the crows was gone and it just looked like a normal house, like everything had returned to a state of normalcy. I was a little girl, so I didn't know this at the time, but I'm gonna tell you why that happened to that house. So the people who lived in the house, apparently
They hired an Obia man, which is like a Jamaican witch doctor, or it doesn't have to be Jamaican, just someone who is Caribbean who practices Obia. He did something to make them get rich, to make them get their house, to make them get all the money that they had. But then now, when it came time to pay him, they didn't want to pay him. So his solution was to set vultures on their house more and more and more until they had to pay him. I do know the man's name, but to even say his name is kind of a curse, so I don't have anything really to say about it. That's why, like, if you seek out the help of somebody like that, bro, pay them. Like, why would you not pay them? I don't understand.
A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So I grew up in the Caribbean, so ghost stories are par for the course. We call them spirits, jumbi, jobless, sukayans. We have a name for any kind of spirit or entity. That's how common we believe with it now. Of course, we are descendants of Africans, French, whatever other colonizers and indigenous people that were on these islands. So everybody comes with their own stories and their own ghosts and whatever. And we also have a lot of plantations, sugar mill plantations, specifically because we had a lot of sugar cane fields, and that's the fields that the slaves worked, at least here on St. Croix and Obia and other islands too, but it was mostly sugar cane. And I worked on an old plantation. It wasn't a plantation anymore, but it's a historical site, so it still had the original mill and the bars that the slaves would be locked in, the little cells and stuff like that. And of course it has some graveyards and unmarked graves. So strange things always happened up at that facility. It was being used as a residential treatment facility where I worked. And no matter what client passed through there, even clients who didn't meet each other, they would always report seeing a woman in white. Some people thought, oh, maybe it's one of the ladies from the ladies program, but there were many, many times that it was clear that it was no living lady that anyone knew. So I remember a lot of strange things used to happen up there. I would be in an office like this. I had my phone out taking a Snapchat picture, and another face, the Snapchat filter cut a face right behind me, and the only thing on my wall at the time was a calendar. It didn't have no face or anything, and I tried to recreate that picture many times and could not. I was like, okay, hey Casper, let's chill together. And other little strange things that would happen to me, like at the corner of my eye, I would see someone literally walk by, but there would be no one around. It wasn't a client or anything like that, and little things like that. But the one thing, there are actually two things I remember that were more strange than usual, but the one that comes to mind when I saw that the video I'm stitching was, it was after some kind of rainstorm like we're having now, and I somehow ended up being a direct care staff for a shift. I was hired as a therapist, but it was one of those jobs where, you know, other duties as assigned nonsense, but that's for another day. And at night it would get, you know, really creepy up there because it's really dark, and the other direct care staff had taken all the clients offsite for a meeting for an offsite activity, and the shift change in person came in early. He's always known to come in early, and he was like, hey, if you want to go, you can go. I'm here. I can hang out. So I was like, cool. There was only 2 clients left back, 2 male clients in the living room, and he had direct eyes on them. The office was connected to the living area, so he could see them just fine. So I walked up the hill. It's a big property, it's a plantation. I walked up the hill to my office to grab my stuff so I can go. So when I got back down the hill, I'm saying, hey, I'm leaving now, you know, thanks again for coming in early so I can go. And he was like, cool, before you go, who's up there so I can make a note? I said, no one, everyone's gone, just those 2 in there. Everyone's offsite with the other staff to the event. He's like, no, who was walking next to you when you were walking up the hill? Now the way the office is set up is that has a hole in the window that you can see, so anybody walking up or walking down the hill, you have eyes on them, because, you know, clients they might get into mischief and whatnot. And I was like, I walked up by myself. There was no one with me. And he started to freak out. He was like, there was a woman walking next to you while you walked up the hill, like walked next to you all the way up and up to the building. And at that point, I was like, excuse me? What? And I walked up by myself. There was no one there. There was not even anyone up at the women's house in the other building. Because like I said, all the clients were gone. So there's many more. There's another one thing but this video is getting too long, so I'm not going to share that one. But there's a lot of little creepy things that happen. And that's not the only place creepy things that happen. Like I said, Caribbean ghost stories are par for the course. But that's mine.
A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
So for some reason it won't let me stitch the actual video, like I'm not getting any audio, but here we go. I had originally said or like commented on someone else's video. I actually tagged the creator because we had like similar stories, that I was going to tell a story about when my mom went to St. Lucia, but because there's so many other people involved in that story, I decided against it. But I'm going to tell a similar story that has to do with something along those lines. So when my mother was growing up in her country, in the parish that she lived in, there was a bakery, and it was owned by like a pretty well-to-do gentleman, but nobody ever saw him. So they just know or heard that he owned this place. Like, we were like, oh, this man owns this place. And there were other people in line that basically ran the shop on a day-to-day basis. So they noticed, though, that they always saw a cat come in the shop every day. So eventually they just started being like, trying to shoo the cat every day, but the cat would never leave. So one day they just kind of got upset, like, you got to get out of here. Like, you're going to get us in trouble. It's going to be a problem. You cannot be inside the bakery. And they end up basically beating the cat with like a broom or something like that, and injuring one of the cat's front legs. Bear in mind. So the cat ends up managing to get away. They don't kill the cat or anything like that. But then for the first time that many of these workers has ever seen their boss is the next day, and when he comes in, his arm is in a sling. Yeah. Coincidence? I don't think so. So that's really creepy. And then there's another story of this man. So yeah, there's a story of this man who owned land in the same area that my mother lived in, and at the time it was a lot more agricultural, so you have like fields of people planting different stuff, but this man in particular had fields of sugarcane. So if you ever managed to go onto his land, which he wanted people to stay out of, like, you could be a step away from the street. There's no way you were getting off unless he came to personally let you off of his land. So yeah, a lot of people, Obia, okay? Voodoo, that sort of thing. Yeah, especially if you're Caribbean, like, you hear these stories and all of these things growing up, like, it's real bad. It's out there. But yeah, those are my two little stories about like people changing into animals and Obia and that sort of situation. But I do have other stories that happened to like me as a kid that involve like spirits and stuff like that. If you guys are interested, just let me know if I can.
So have you ever passed this house in San Grande? This pretty beautiful house. It's a Spanish colonial style. Have you all ever seen this? Do you all know that it also has a paranormal story behind it? So that beautiful Spanish colonial house that you see in there that we tend to pass in Sangre Chiquito has a very rich and haunting history. So that estate is known as the Pachico Estate or the Santa Estella Estate, and it was inhabited in the 1920s by a former Venezuelan general. I think his name was Colmenares Pachico, and he had a falling out with his brother-in-law, who was a dictator and the president of Venezuela at the time. So back in the day, Santa Estella State was known as the opportunity hub of Sangre Grande, where a lot of opportunities were given to people in the cocoa and coffee estates to work. So a lot of people went there for employment. Now you're probably wondering, what is the paranormal story in Santa Estella Estate or Pachico Estate? And yes, it's said to be a visitor who has been staying in the residence long after her death since 1964. So the ghost that is said to haunt the Spanish colonial halls of Santa Estella Estate is known as Regina Gomez, and I think it's believed that she is the sister of President Gomez, who was a tyrant and dictator at the time, and she fled Venezuela in the middle of the night, and she exiled herself to Trinidad and Tobago seeking refuge and settled in Santa Estella Estate. So Regina Gomez was said to have sunk into a deep depression, having to flee her home of Venezuela and having to settle in Trinidad, basically exile herself in Trinidad. It was believed that she did not utter a single word of English after she arrived in Trinidad and lived out the rest of her 28 years of life here, sad and wanting to go back to her homeland. She was wheelchair bounded at a point in time, and it is said that she would ring a bell to capture the attention of those who should have needed assistance from. Do you know what's the haunting part about it? It's said that when you step foot into Santa Estella Estate, it's preserved in that Spanish colonial style. Everything looks like if you are stepping into a different time. But in the distance, down the veranda, you can hear the bell of Regina Gomez ringing, as though she's reminding people that this was once her home. So let me know if you pass down Sangre Chiquito and you happen to see Santa Estella Estate. Let me know if you are hearing that haunting bell being rung down the veranda of the estate.
Okay, y'all, so I'm gonna retell the Catman story. A lot of y'all have probably heard this story, but my old account is gone, so retelling it. So when I was like 14, I lived in Jamaica with my mom, and one night it was really late, like 2 or 3 in the morning. I was in the living room watching TV. My mom was asleep, and I'm hearing what sounds like cats fighting outside. So I'm just like, I wanted to see two cats. Like, that was my entire goal, bro. I thought that I was gonna see two cats fight. So I go out onto the veranda, which is like a porch. The way how the house is set up, I'm on the second floor of the home. There's a first floor, and then the yard is out there. In our yard, we had 5 mango trees. 4 of them was on the right side of the house, and 1 of them was on the left side. So I'm looking at the left side of the house from the second floor veranda. I thought it was 2 cats fighting, but I was wrong. There was 1 little white cat there, and it was like, the sounds it was making was like it was in pain. I'm thinking either the motherfucker is gonna give birth, or it's like something's wrong with it. So then the cat starts getting into a stretching position. You know the position that cats do when like they just woke up, like they got their butt in the air and the front part of them is like stretched all the way out with their hands like that? That's what it was doing. I don't like, maybe I was just bored, maybe I was just in awe, but I didn't stop looking. Like I was just staring at it as this is happening. And then the fucking face of the creature begins to turn upside down. Like, I know when y'all are visualizing some shit like that, you think of the head doing a 360. Like, no. The face of the creature began to turn upside down. The face opened up like a flower, like peeling back. And mind you, it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Street lights. I'm in Jamaica. I know the drill. Once I seen the shit starting to stand up, like stand upright, I went back into the house. Like, it had been growing in size and changing and all this shit, but when it started to get up, I was like, yeah, I need to not be here. Walked back into the house, and I just acted like I didn't see anything. And then maybe like 2, 3 minutes later, I looked through my living room window, because the living room looked into the right side of the house with the 4 mango trees. So I'm looking through that window, and I see a man in a white wife beater, a dark skinned skinny man, white wife beater, walk out of my yard and off into the road. Once again, it's 2, 3 in the morning. Nobody's in my yard, bro. There's nobody in the yard. And after I seen that shit, I was sick for like 3 days. I was sick, like weak, can't eat, fever, chills, like the craziest weakness I've ever felt. Like weak, like I can't do anything type shit. And I can't keep anything down. Like, it was horrible. And when I first told this story, a lot of people said to me, like, you got sick because you were not supposed to see that, and it knows that you saw it. So listen, I just know I'm not looking for catfights anymore, bro.
I'm not blood clot, take no chance, yeah? Me not afraid of people. I know the people them me did afraid of in the middle of the night for say me I go up in that hills here. So me decide 4 o'clock, me ready. Me dey out on the road, main road. Me I walk the main road for take for go up in them new hills here. Me finally reach the road where actually you take for turn off for go up in them hills here. Me reach that road there. Mind you, the road where you fit take for turn off for go up in the hills. I want split road, you know. And if you I want bush there right in front of your road. So if you don't know which bush to look for, you go pass right by the road for go up in them set of hills here. Why me follow my brothers? Why me follow my brethren directions them to the T? Me no know. Something did that guide me that night there. People, as me I burn my little ganja, and I burn my little herbs and I cut and I go through me they are so like a blood clot priest, a flashy blood clot rum.
So I was telling my sister that I'm doing this series on TikTok about spooky things, and I said, "Hey, do you have anything that you'd like to add to my series?" So here it goes. So she was born and raised in Jamaica for some of her life. I think she came over here when she was about 14 or so. Don't quote me. So she was saying that one day in the wee hours of the morning, my grandmother, because that's who she was with over there, my grandmother used to go selling in Kingston. We lived in St. Thomas. We still have a house in St. Thomas. And so she would leave out like 4 in the morning or so to catch the bus to go to St. Thomas because, my grandmother had a farm and she sold a lot of things. So she would go to make her sales on a daily basis. So her and my cousin, the other one that told us that story the other day, they would walk her to like Bridgen, to catch the bus, right? So they left one of my other sisters home in the house still sleeping so that they can have someone to get them like through the door so they can have someone open the door for them. So they're calling my sister name like, "Hey, open the door." They hear a voice answer, but no one comes to the door. They're like, "Yo, come answer the door." Hear the voice answer again, but no one comes to the door. They're like, "Yo, come to the door." So finally they hear 2 voices answer, but only one person comes to the door. So my sister comes to the door, opens the door, and behind her on a wall, they see the ghost of a lady named Miss Linda hanging on the wall, just looking at all of them. So my sister said they closed the door and sat outside for the rest of the day waiting on my grandmother to come home because they were not going back in the house. And that is wild.
I'm entering this mermaid conversation because growing up I was taught that mermaids were real and I have a story to tell. Now, because I'm super hyped right now because I just got off the phone. I called a family member from Haiti who was known to have a lot of tales of mermaids. And so, y'all, it's wild. So, they're white, y'all, and then they're evil, and they kidnap people. That's the high level. Family member, and I remember hearing the story when I was a little kid about them going to the river in Haiti to get water for home to cook or something, and literally that's what they just told me. And they saw a part human, part fish person sitting on a rock. Skin has almost no pigmentation, combing their extremely long hair with a golden comb. And their parent got mad at them because they didn't try to steal the comb from the mermaid. I kid you not, this is the story. I have a lot of really interesting stories from Haiti simply because we're first generation Christian, and so that pre-Christian period with voodoo and all that jazz, it was spicy. It was scary. I like being a Christian. I'm just chill with Jesus. This family member saw the mer person. They startled each other. The mer person jumped up and jumped into the water and splashed, and this family member ran back to their home. Also, what was the other part of the story? Okay, also this person has a family member that was actually kidnapped by the mer people. So they often they kidnap people from the island and make them indentures in their world. And they were like, their world is like just another version of what we might consider reality. They're just demons. I got then the story went further left. I called this person up and they gave me more mer world tea, but I don't want to end up on that end of TikTok, so I think I might just end it here. But mermaids, they tend, or the ones that eyewitnesses have seen tend to be white. But again, Disney's Little Mermaid is a fictitious world and a fictitious character, and it can be anything. So stop being racist. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my whimsical TED Talk.
Ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely true.
Okay, so I'm going to tell. It's not my story, but I'm going to tell a story that my mom told me. This is my mom's story when she was a little girl living in St. Lucia. I've been seeing mad Haitians hop on here and tell like their stories or like their experiences or stories that were passed down to them. So this one is about, what do you call it? A shapeshifter. This lady was a shapeshifter. Let's get into it. So boom. My mom was a little girl living in St. Lucia. More specifically, she was living in Bexon. Bexon is like a small little village like town or whatever. So my mom used to live like up the hill. She lived like, not, if you know like Bexon, my mom didn't live too far from like the church or whatever. So like Bexon Church. So they going, my mom lived like up like this hill. And like up the hill there's like houses and stuff like up the hill. So I guess one day my mom had wanted, no, my grandmother had told my mom that she needed some sugar, but she didn't have any sugar. And she needed my mom to go up the hill and go ask the neighbor, Miss Ivana, for some sugar, right? All right, so my mom, she goes up the hill and she goes and tries to get the sugar from Miss Ivana. But instead of the sugar, my mom goes up, she asks, no, oh, Miss Ivana, can I get the sugar? Yada, yada, yada. So instead of the sugar, Miss Ivana gives my mom, like these 3 black rocks, like in a bag. So my mom take the rocks and go back down and tries to give it to my grandmother. My grandmother like, yo, that ain't sugar, and you know what sugar look like. Don't piss me off. Take that shit back and go get some fucking sugar. So my mom like, oh, okay. So she just goes back up the hill and tries to tell Miss Ivana whatever, whatever, right? So my mom goes back up the hill and she's like, Miss Ivana, this is not sugar. My mom is saying like, she wants sugar. This isn't sugar. Miss Ivana is really trying to convince my mom to like take these 3 black rocks to my grandmother. So my mom's just a child, so very innocent and naive at this stage in her life. Like, I want to say she's probably between the ages of like 8 and 12, give or take. But yeah, she goes back down the hill and she tries to give my grandmother, the 3 rocks. My grandmother cuss my mom clean the fuck out. Like, Tichu, like, I'm not taking that fucking shit. Like, my place I pissed. Like, Tichu was like, move there. My place I pissed means I don't want that shit at all. Like, bring your ass back up that hill and get my fucking sugar. Matter of fact, just leave them black rocks up there because she playing in my fucking face. I'm gonna just find another way to get it. That's just what my grandmother was on at that point in time. She was just pissing my grandmother off, right? Yo, why when my mom went back up the hill, Miss Ivana was not there, but there was a dog underneath the porch, just sitting there watching, chilling. So my mom there calling Miss Ivana, Miss Ivana. Miss Ivana not coming out, but the dog is there staring at my mom. So my mom said, fuck it. She just put the motherfucking rocks on the lady porch and went just right back down the hill, back to her crib, right? So when my mom went back down the hill, my mom was like, oh, Miss Ivana wasn't there, but I left the rocks on her porch. There was some dog there, whatever. So my grandmother like, Miss Ivana was there. She saw you put the rocks on the porch type shit. My mom like, man, what the fuck you talking about? Whatever. I want to say I'm just going based off of like what I really remember. My mom told the story a lot when I was a kid, or like a few times when I was a kid. Um, so I want to say maybe like a day or two after, within like a week, give or take, I want to say, my mom ends up seeing Miss Ivana back up the hill again. And my mom is telling Miss Ivana, oh, I tried to give you back the 3 black rocks. I put it on your porch. The only thing is, like, there was a dog there. Like, I kept calling your name. I only seen a dog there. Miss Ivana was like, I don't have a dog. My mom just said, like, she just stopped and looked at the lady and just walked away. My mom ended up going back and telling my grandmother like what Miss Ivana said, and that's when my grandmother started to break down to my mom like Obia, Majinwe. Majinwe is like another word of like Obia, black magic in Saint Lucia. So she's like telling her, Majinwe, Obia, Obia, like trying to tell my mom like the lady is like a little, dark, kind of like high priestess kind of like thing, and that was her. So she acting like she don't know that the dog be there, because the dog was always there like on her porch when Miss Ivana wasn't there. But you don't have a dog, but when you're not there the dog is there. Yeah, Miss Ivana was the motherfucking dog, y'all.
That's a shapeshifter. Storytime. Growing up in Haiti, or anyone who has Haitian parents can tell you that there is such a thing as shapeshifters, lugauts in Haiti. And that is the reason why they also tell you whenever you hear a cat sounding like that outside your house at a certain time at night, you should not go outside to go see what's wrong with the cat, because usually it's not a cat and you will not live to see or tell the story of what you witnessed. So I remember one time we were all in the house. It was late, very, very late. Usually we'll stay up even though we cannot be outside at a certain time. If you go to Haiti, you should always listen to the locals when they tell you do not go at a certain area, to a certain area, or at a certain time go outside. Because trust me, you won't make it back in the house. And I'm not even over exaggerating. But anyway, so we were all in the house. We were young, but there was a bunch of grown-ups in the house also. Everybody's sleeping, and we were all waking up by this big boom that was on top of the house. And in Haitian houses in Haiti, they actually don't have like real like roof like we'd have here, but they have like metals. So any little thing you can hear it, even if the rain. We usually are able to fall asleep with the rain sound because it's just so loud and it's so soothing and all that stuff. But when the nightmare starts, trust me, you will hear every single thing. So we're sleeping and we're all waking up at this boom. Even the children, you know how children can sleep real well, right? They sleep through everything. We all were waking up, but the grown-ups already know because they're so used to it. And also we know a well-known lugau in the town that everybody could respect because we know how powerful she is, and a lot of people have been taken out by her, but they can never prove that it was her until one day. So anyways, we're all sleeping and we're waking up by this sound, and we just hear footsteps on top of the house just walking, as if like it's like, you know, grains falling in the house, but it's like real loud footsteps, just walking, and all the adults just start praying, and the children were just scared because we're so used to hearing stories about that happening, and eventually it happened to us. So we're like scared, and the adults are praying, even though like voodoo is a religion in Haiti. They still pray. A lot of people pray but still practice voodoo because that's really our religion. Just like the Catholic people, they also practice voodoo, but also they tell you that it's bad. Anyways, so they're praying. The children are trying to figure out what's going on. Well, the baby, my aunt had a baby that was just a few weeks old, not even a month, a few weeks old. The baby just kept crying nonstop. And they usually, whenever they come in on top of your house, they're coming for the baby, not children who are a certain age. They're coming for the innocent, right? So the baby's crying. The people are praying. So there's a lot going on, and the noise on top and everything. All of a sudden, the noise stopped, but we hear a cat right by the door, literally right at the door, right? This cat just sounds like a baby. It's literally almost matching the sound of the baby that's crying. The cat sounds like a baby, scratching at the door, making noises, scratching at the door, making noise. And that's when the prayers start getting louder and louder. And eventually the children fell asleep because the cat just kept going. I fell asleep because I was young at the time. Then eventually we heard the story the next day, but then what really made us believe it is what we saw the next day, what we experienced the next day. So we fell asleep. The adults, I guess, continue to do whatever they're doing. The next day we wake up to the horror of everything. The baby that was crying was basically covered in ants, covered head to toe, ants eating the baby's skin, everything. I mean, I should have given you guys a warning. Eating everything. But of course, you know, everything is still intact, but the skin is bite marks from the ants. Baby, gone. Pass. Don't know why, don't know how, but the baby's gone. What happened last night happened. Next morning, wake up, baby's gone. And that was the first child that my aunt lost. And then finally after that, she just kept losing children up until 7 kids. She lost 7 kids until she actually stopped having kids. Every time one passed, she has another one. Every time one passed, I'm like, as someone who has common sense, you would think, okay, I'll stop after maybe the 3rd or 4th one. Well, she just kept having children. Eventually, she decided, okay, well, I'm not going to have any more kids if I'm going to keep losing them. But when she had her first son, which is the oldest child, that child survived because she didn't live in the house. She didn't live in that town when she had that child. So that child survived. But eventually, she lost her life to the same thing. And also, I lost my godmom to the same thing. I have a story for that. Also, my older sister who lives right now in the United States, we almost lost her to a neighbor who was practicing brujeria, voodoo. Very good person, good people, but it was a mistake that happened, and we were able to figure it all out. If you guys want to hear about that story, I will tell you. But my mom even sent money for us to buy like coffin for her, preparing for her funeral and everything. Now she's a nurse. Anyway, guys, bye.
These are just a few of the stories that lie deep in the Caribbean culture. And these are whispers of the past that refuse to be silenced. Now, which tale haunted you the most? Of course, as always, drop your thoughts down in the comments and let me know if you have any Caribbean ghost stories of your own, because I would love to feature them here on the channel, especially for Mystic Monday. I'm definitely ready to go ahead and post another episode for Mystic Monday, which I'm editing the first one, so y'all be patient. It's coming, I promise. I'm seeing that you guys are liking more of the lengthy videos, so I'm doing my best to make sure that I get enough entries to go ahead and give you a full-length video, so it'll be worth the wait. Don't forget to subscribe, my hoodlums, so you can be in the loop for all folklore, mysteries, and spooky ghost stories, and anything else that lingers in the shadows. But until next time, may the ancestors watch over you. Make sure that you drink your water, mind your business, stay prayed up and protected, and as always, Luna loves you. I'll be back with another video for you guys if the spirits allow it.
Give it right back, baby, give it right back.